Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. So, over the last decade, I've been on a mission trying to build a legal practice that's really aligned with my wellness and priorities. And this mission really resulted in me starting up my own practice in 2017 as a result of me not feeling comfortable about my current employer's ability to give me the information and resources I need to build out that future resilient practice. And in a previous video, I talked about the 5 challenges that solo lawyers face and have to address in 2025 to build a future resilient practice. You can find that here. And if you want to watch the video, I'd suggest you do so, but they go into detail about these 5 challenges. However, for the purpose of this video, the 5 challenges are increased competition from other lawyers and non-legal service providers, the more for less dilemma, the idea that clients want more value for less money, technology overwhelm, the inability for lawyers to navigate the myriad of choices available for technologies to integrate into their practice, the decision making loneliness, having not really having advisors or people to talk to about what is the right technology or what technology you should be using in your practice. And frankly, the inability to handle any of those other challenges means, frankly, just greater mental stress and work life imbalance. And so, in this video, I'm going to be talking about the 5 types of knowledge that you need to cultivate and acquire in order to design a strategy to build out a future resilient practice. So, let's begin by talking about the thing that seems kind of obvious but is not really obvious, the idea to know your client. Knowing your client is the foundation of a future resilient practice. And when you are competing with so many other lawyers for the attention and the wallet of clients, you need to know what are the motivations behind your client's need for a lawyer. So you need to basically identify and anticipate why your clients are coming to a lawyer, what are their needs and what are their pain points. And then you need to develop systems to gather and act on those needs, those pain points. And what you can also do with this knowledge of your client is you can start developing service offerings that address those clients' needs. And so again, it's the 3 steps. You have to identify and anticipate why your client is looking for a lawyer, so what are their needs and what are their pain points. You can then use that information to develop systems to gather and act on client feedback consistently so that you can build out and continuously refine the systems. And then lastly, once you have that feedback, you can create personalized service offerings. But that's just the first piece, knowing your client, because client or knowing your client is only one part of the puzzle. It's also about recognizing that your client is coming to you for a problem to be solved. And that problem being solved isn't necessarily something you're going to be able to do without understanding what is the value that you are providing the client. So when you're talking about this is really addressing the more for less dilemma. So when you think about what a lawyer is providing a client, the value that is often is that you're providing a solution to a problem. And that solution or that problem could have multiple emotional pieces, and resolving that problem has a number of emotional pieces as well. But obviously, when we're talking about knowing your value, it's not just emotion, it's also money. So maybe you want to be the lawyer that's able to do things not for the billable hour on an hourly basis, but for flat fee or the project basis. Or it might be that you have a specific expertise or experience in a certain area. It might be specific, you might be able to speak a specific language. Your value might be that you come at it from a particular approach. You might be a very aggressive lawyer or you might be a very practical lawyer. Whatever value you're providing, you got to be able to identify and articulate that value to the potential clients. So when you're talking about knowing your value, it's really about identifying and articulating why you are uniquely positioned to meet the needs of that particular client. So it's not, at least for me anyway, I would recommend against trying to compete on price, but really compete on value. Okay. And then once you are able to identify and articulate the value that you're providing, you can then build out a narrative around your services that differentiates your practice from others. So that way, you're no longer competing against an audience of 1,000 family lawyers. You're really competing against a small subsection of family lawyers that might serve, for instance, uh, real estate brokers or real estate agents, right? So you really focus on that. Or you might be a litigator that really focuses on real estate property disputes. Or you might be an estates lawyer that really focuses on um, clients that have disabled children, right? Because once you niche down that much, there's not there are many other lawyers that won't be able to compete against you because they just don't have the same knowledge base. Okay, so so you have your knowing your client and knowing the value you provide. And again, the knowing your value is really built on the knowledge that you have of your client. Okay. The third knowledge you need is knowing your process. And again, the knowing your process is really built on the knowing your value component. And it's really about knowing what are the processes that underlie the value you provide. So, for example, in litigation, there's probably a claim to be filed. There's probably a certain amount of process that you'd be going through to schedule the hearing and a hearing itself. So those types of processes. The reason why I talk about knowing your processes is because once you know your processes, you then have a benchmark to measure whether there's going to be a return on investment if a technology is inserted in. So this is really about an iterated process where once you know your process and your workflows and the time it takes for you to complete a process or a workflow, you then have a data-driven metric to say, if I insert a technology here, these are the benefits I'm going to achieve. And that way, when a tech service provider comes to you, you're in a better position to assess whether that tech service provider is going to be good or not. The other great part about knowing your processes is that you can start developing standardized processes to help you run more efficiently. And this is especially important if they're routine-based tasks or routine-based communications. So, for example, you might have a standard template, a standard letter to send to a client when they complete an intake form, or a standard letter to send to opposing counsel the minute you get retained. And these strong processes are really what create space for what matters most. Building meaningful connections to clients, that's a client-centered communications, but also for you to deliver services more efficiently and effectively. And again, that goes to meeting this idea of the more for less dilemma, because once you're having a standardized process, you can actually get it done quicker and quicker and quicker. So when you have those three issues, the decision-making loneliness is addressed by knowing your community. And this is really about having or cultivating a set of contacts and a network that can help you make decisions when they need to be made. And there's lots of levels to this, but at a really high level, you can do so by cultivating relationships with other solo lawyers. You can do this by getting involved with other online communities and doing networking opportunities, building partnerships with other service providers. And perhaps more importantly, what I recommend to everyone is to have what I call a sort of board of advisors. And these are contacts that could serve as mentors, or in case paid relationships where you know that they are a trusted resource that can help you make the decisions you need. So for example, the reason why I started up the law entrepreneur community is because I know that there's group of lawyers out there that are looking for understanding on how to build a tech-enabled practice that's aligned with their wellness, right? And that's really what this is all about, right? So people know and trust that I have the information they need to make a better decision, and I have frameworks that they can use, and that's the reason why the knowing your community piece matters. And the last knowledge you need to cultivate is the knowing your priorities. Now, even though that this is the last knowledge to cultivate, quote unquote, I would actually put this at the forefront, because it's only from knowing your priorities that all other knowledge stem from. Your success is only going to become sustainable if it is in alignment with who you are, with what you stand for, and what you want to achieve. So, for example, for me, when my children came into the world, I knew I could no longer, being the top litigator in the world never really, well, it never really was a thing for me. But I I didn't want the dream of being working in the office 15 hours a day. That was never my thing. And for me, it was always important that I had boundaries that helped me be successful, but also be successful as a father and as a husband. And it's because of those motivations that I really want to align the decisions of my practice with my long-term well-being goals, whether that be my physical health, my intellectual health, and frankly, my financial health as well, and mental health. And I want to build out a practice that supports both my professional growth and my personal fulfillment. And so those are the 5 areas of knowledge that I really believe are crucial to building out a really thriving solo legal practice, right? You have the knowing your client, the knowing your values, and knowing the value that you provide, the knowing your processes and workflows, knowing your community, and then knowing your priorities. And then by cultivating each of these knowledges, you're that much better in building out a framework that supports your success both professionally and personally. So I hope this video has really helped you understand how these knowledges are critical to help build a sustainable and fulfilling career that is future resilient. Obviously, if you disagree, would love to hear from you. I'm not going to profess that I know everything. And I really am using this YouTube channel as a way for me to develop and refine my own thoughts on this. So if you have some thoughts on what other types of knowledges are important, would love to hear from you. Conversely, if some of the stuff has resonated with you, or if there's a knowledge you think is so much more important than others, would love to know that as well. Because I do want to understand why the legal profession has been so terrible in helping lawyers thrive in their practice. And again, I'll go more into it when I go over what I see as the framework to build out a thriving practice, which I call the Thriving Solo Lawyer Model. So that'll be the next video. But until then, I hope you're well, and I hope you got some value from this video. As always, if you thought there was some value derived, give me a like, hit the subscribe button, and we'll chat soon. Bye for now.